Sure. Okay. So today should be pretty easy. It's just going to go over some tips for testing and like how to test, what to test, where, and the different sites, and then also the JIRA, the ticketing system. So Way to Health actually has two sites. There's the production server where you guys have been building your studies, and then there's also the staging server. So right now it's totally fine because there's no participants yet to be messing around with doing stuff in production because you're not going to impact anyone. But once your study's live, you'll want to do, if there's any changes or if something breaks, you'll want to test that in staging. So staging looks exactly like production, except that it's just a test environment. So what you will do is you'll literally just go to the URL that you normally go to, except you'll put staging at the front of it. And it's hard to see here, but can I zoom in? Let's see. No, I can't zoom in on the URL. But instead of the my.waytohealth, it'll be staging.waytohealth. And then you'll put the normal, just go to the normal site, just replace my with staging. And it's going to look exactly like this. It's the exact same credentials as you log in with the production site. And it should all look the same. Now, the only difference is it won't be updated in that if you did something if you did something on production or participants did something like yesterday, it doesn't automatically carry over to staging. So what you'll want to do, and we'll go over this more, is put in a ticket with the developers just asking them to copy production to staging. Because it's not like in real time or anything that might not have been updated as of like 2 weeks ago. And sometimes that's okay, but sometimes it's of limited. If you're looking at someone in particular about like what happened to them yesterday, that's not too helpful. But in general, anytime you want to test anything, you'll go into staging. And like I said, you can see that it looks very, very similar. Yeah, you can still see all the test people on here. When you click, but everything is de-identified. So if you click like show participant names, it's just going to look like this. Participant first name, last name, and it's just going to use their Way to Health ID. Same thing happens when you click into their profile. Everything is de-identified. So yeah, that's kind of nice as well. We don't have to worry about any of that. So we can go back to production for now because again, the study isn't live, so it doesn't matter if you mess something up in there because it's not going to affect anyone. So what to test? So we went over this a little bit before as we were doing each session, but there are some various things that you'll want to test before you have live participants. One of the first thing is your enrollment process. So you'll want to go and make test participants, which you can make on your front end sites, either on the front end or the back end. You might want to test both. But of course, if you're not enrolling anyone on the front end, then you probably just need to do the back end. So you would go to manage participants, you would just create a new participant and you would go through the whole enrollment process and make sure that what you want to happen is happening. So if you have certain eligibility criteria, you'll want to make sure that, if a certain BMI is required, then if they have that, then they're being marked as ineligible, and just making sure that everything is happening the way you want it to. Making sure that if they decline the informed consent, then it stops them and won't let them move forward. So, for example, let's see, I don't know if I have it set up in here. Let's see. No. Let's go to a real study. I'll just pick one of yours for an example here. So for like Josh's study, if someone is going through and they say that they're under 21 years of age, then it should be marking them as ineligible. So you'll want to go through and test every single one of these criteria and make sure what you want to happen is happening. And make sure that, that you're getting the message that as the participant. And then same for informed consent. I don't know if you've built this yet, but yep, great. So same kind of concept. And testing, the different profile step, like making sure that, they're being forced to put in all the information. So like they can't move forward without completing the contact information. And then, let's see, W-9, same thing, making sure that they put in the social security number. So for example, for a Fitbit authorization, you'll have your account through Fitbit that you'll want to create, and then you can put in those credentials and test the Fitbit authorization. So, do you have any participant chat, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I have one that I think.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. Okay.
That was what I was playing with this morning.
Nice. All right. So, if I go into enrollment here, yeah, so if you're doing it on the back end here, you'll see like the complete buttons here for you to go through each step. And for like Fitbit, you can put in your Fitbit account credentials, and it should make sure it's authorizing correctly. And then if you want to test before you have devices, I was telling Josh, if you guys have iPhones, you can set up Mobile Track, which is an app. And instead of actually setting up a device, you'll set up Mobile Track. It's basically just like an app on the phone that while you're walking, it will collect your steps, and you can make sure that if you have like an upload step, make sure that it's coming over to the system, and it will, once it does, it will close out the step. But you can also check and manage data, so you'll filter for Fitbit as the source. You can filter for a specific participant, but since you don't have that many, I don't think we need to do that. And you'll see here. It's just Fitbit.
Oh.
Yep. And then once you download it, it will ask you, it'll probably make you create an account. It's going to ask you some like questions about yourself. Yeah. And then there is an option like I don't have a device yet or something, and you can do the Mobile Track. If you have it's only on the newer iPhones. It's like 5S or newer. And then once you get devices, it's fine. Because then if you have an Android, you can do it. But if you're in the meantime, if you want to start testing before then. So enrollment testing is pretty easy. If you do have people enrolling on the front end, again, you'll want to test people through the front end, which means they're enrolling themselves, and make sure all the language looks correct, there's no spelling errors, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to actually testing your study, you will want to have, like you can see, Josh started someone today. So is this like connected to your like email address or cell phone?
I
like...
made an email address up and I realized it was a bad idea, so I stopped.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So that's one of the things that we can talk about. You're going to end up having tons and tons of test people just because of, testing different things, different eligibility. You'll want to test the different arms. So one of our tricks is if you go to, when you're creating the profile, I hope you don't mind that I'm cooking in here. Oh, yeah, I see that. if you guys have Gmail accounts, there's a trick that you can do. So for example, for me, my Gmail is devinhtaylor@gmail.com. But obviously you can only have one email address per account. And while you're testing, this is a problem because that would be really annoying. I only have so many Gmail accounts. So one of the tricks is to do plus and then just a random set of numbers. So it could be +123. I mean, you can start just +1, then the next person can be +2, +3, etc. And you can literally do that to infinity. And then you save it, and you can have tons and tons of test people, and it will all go to that Gmail account. So it's really helpful if you're, testing like someone in a control arm and someone in the intervention arm. They can both go to your Gmail account, but they just have a different random string of numbers at the end. You don't want to see that. Does that make sense? Okay. So once you save your email address in here, you start yourself, you'll want to make sure that when you go to encounters, that everything that you have happening is happening for your participant. So for example, for this person, you'll want to make sure that, tomorrow you can check and make sure that the Fitbit data attached for this person today. If there's feedback, make sure that you're getting, a lottery message or a step count feedback, depending on whatever you have at your study level. Let's see, do you have anything else? So yeah. So next Thursday, this person should get this weekly step count reminder, I guess depending on how it's built. But just making sure that you're getting what you're set out to get. Let's see, what else? So again, setting up. Yeah. And then setting up test people should be on the back end and the front end, depending on if your participants will be using the front end and the back end. And then, let's see what else. So right now, everything's in production, but once you start your study, you're going to want to clear all of your test data out, because obviously you don't want all this dummy data in there once you have real people. So what you'll do is when you say, okay, we're ready, we're going to start with real people and start enrolling tomorrow, you'll go to settings. And then you'll go to this little, you'll go here and you'll click reset participant data. And what it's going to do is it's going to clear everything out. And you want to make sure that it actually does clear everything out. So when you click reset participant data, this manage participants is going to disappear temporarily. And you'll want to go into make sure that everything is gone. So you'll go to manage data. You'll make sure, when you're filtering for your different sources, that there's no more Fitbit data in here. You'll want to make sure that there's, all the screening surveys are gone, all of that. And then once you confirm that, everything's deleted, another thing actually that you'll want to check too is when you go to study arms, you'll want to make sure that no one is in any arms. So 0 should say 0 randomized so far, 0 randomized so far. And then you'll go back and you can officially start your study, which I think I can actually show you from another study what it will look like. So yeah, so as you see with this is another project I'm working on. The Manage Participants tab isn't here. And when I go to settings, I have the option to start the study. So it says it's in development right now. I'll press start. And now you're ready to go with real people. And you can see that the Manage Participants tab shows back up. So that's really it in terms of testing and production versus staging. So again, production's fine to do everything now, but once the study is live, you'll want to do any testing, or if there's issues, you'll go into staging, and you can have production copied over to staging to have the most up-to-date version. Before I go to JIRA, does anyone have any questions? Yeah. Manage. Probably not, because I have admin settings. Let me take a look. Yeah. So that's an admin setting. Yeah. Yeah, you probably don't have this manage users either. Anything else? Cool. That was easy. Okay, so let's just quickly go over JIRA. Again, I'll just give a high-level overview of this because we're going to do it next week. But this is our ticketing system where you'll put in support tickets. So let's say, for example, you notice that Fitbit data isn't coming over one day, or it looks like the lottery isn't working correctly, or if you want a custom report that pulls different fields, you'll put in a ticket for the web developers to look at. And so I'll send you guys all credentials, username and password for JIRA, but this is what it will look like when you log in, and you'll create a new ticket. It will ask you for a little bit of information. So generally you'll be putting in bug tickets, and that's what it defaults to. So probably don't need to edit that. You can change the priority. So if it's something like super, super serious, as in like it's impacting patients, as in they're going to get, every single participant's going to get an incorrect message, that's considered a blocker. We try to use this sparingly because it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. Like, you don't want to use that if you don't really need to, because then they're going to ignore it. But if you use it when you really only need it, they will take it more seriously. Critical is kind of the same concept. Like, it's pretty serious. It's impeding your workflow. Like, you need someone to look at it today. Most things are standard. You can just default to standard unless, again, it's a really, really big issue. And you'll just give like a quick summary, of the issue. Just give it a title. As far as a description, the more information that you can give, the better. So if there's an issue, if you can give participant IDs, like way to health IDs, examples, if you can link to the encounter. So for example, let's see. So let's say I were to say, this is a random example, but something's not working with this appointment reminder device. It's not pulling, Epic data correctly. Just to make it easier for the web developers and for them to respond to you faster, I would copy and paste this URL so that they can go right to the link instead of making them dig for it. If you have an idea about where the issue is. And screenshots are always great. If you're getting an error, or if a participant sends you something that they're getting and it looks, weird, any visuals are helpful. So that's where the description will go. And then if you have multiple people like working on your team, so maybe like Kat and Adam, you can add watchers. So you can tag different people on. So if I were to like tag Tori, her username will come up. And then like Michael, who's like one of our web developers. So you can tag people. You can always tag me. I should see it anyway, but I don't know if I can tag myself. Yeah. So that's kind of nice as well. And then here's where you can add pictures under add attachments. For site, for you guys, you're going to be tagging Way to Health core, which I know is kind of weird, but all of the ITMATs are running on the core site. So you can do Way to Health core, and it kind of like lumps them together for the developers, which is helpful for them. And then you just click create, and then once you do that, a ticket will come up over here with a number, and it will So it will show up here when you refresh. And anyone who's tagged on the ticket will get an email, and you'll get emails every time, a developer comments or asks a question or does a status update, and you can track it there. They might ask you to test something in staging. So again, you'll go to this staging site and test so you don't mess up anything on real participants. And then you'll tell them, they'll say like, please test blah, blah, blah in staging. And you'll go in and do it, and if it's working, then you'll just comment back and say, this is working on staging, like, can we move it to production? And they are pretty good about responding within a few days, depending on the severity of the issue or the request. So yeah, that's really all I have, unless you guys have any questions about JIRA or testing. I think more will come up as you have like people and you're come across things. No? Cool. This is easy.